Hi, I'm Jesse. I have a lot of books and I like to share them with you. Today we're counting down the top 10 most mind-blowing horror, sci-fi, and fantasy books. So what do I mean by mind-blowing? What is that? Well, there's certain books that just make you think bigger, that certain fiction that just engages your mind and alludes to something beyond itself, maybe something spiritual or horrifying, or something in another realm, or some weird thing that you can't explain, something that's not explicitly detailed in the book necessarily, but something that really gets you thinking and really makes you pause as you're reading and say, whoa, what if that's true? That's crazy. Like that. So we're going to be counting down the top 10 books, and we're starting here, number 10, with Off to Be the Wizard. So this is a fun book. I listened to it on audiobook, and it has a number of sequels. And you can see the cover here is pixelated. And it's pixelated because the whole premise is that there's a young man who figures out the secret to the universe. He's hacking one day in his computer and he finds really, really deep code that no one has seen. And it turns out that this is the secret code to the universe, and we are all in a computer program. And he figures out how to hack it and how to do anything he wants and change or control anything in the world. So he is very nerdy, and this is a very tongue-in-cheek, funny book. And he basically gives himself magical powers because he writes little macros or functions or shortcuts of things you can do. So you can write a little function that says, oh, make me fly when I snap my fingers. And you can do that every time. And so you essentially become a wizard. And he travels back to medieval times to actually just act as a real wizard and discovers a lot of interesting things. And the whole book is hilarious. But the basic premise really makes you wonder, wait a minute, what would it be like if that were true? Is that true? Very similar to The Matrix, but tongue-in-cheek and giving you more ability to control that reality. Counting down number 9, we have The Magicians. So The Magicians is really well known. It was a series on TV. There are 3 books in the series, and it has 3 things that are really mind-blowing, I thought. Well, one, just to start, I always like being a New Yorker when a book mentions New York, so that's really cool. And I was listening to the audiobook and it mentioned Houston Street while I was on Houston Street, and yes, it's pronounced Houston, and that was really weird and that blew my mind. But that is not related to the book specifically. The 3 things are, one, that there's parallel worlds and there's an in-between world. This is just like Narnia, this is just like his Dark Materials, and in each place it's spooky. Imagine an in-between world while you're traveling between universes. What's spooky about it is that it's empty, but it's a whole civilization. It's all built, but it's empty. So where did the people go? Another spooky thing in the 3rd book is that they sort of see the secrets behind the universe. It's sort of peeled back to them, and they see some of these secrets. That's as much as I can say there without spoiling it. And then in the 1st book, the creepiest, weirdest, most mind-blowing thing when I read it, it's about a boy who goes to magical school. It's very much like Harry Potter, but more adult than that. This monster invades their classroom, and it's a very subtle, weird monster from another dimension, and it is horrifying, and it freezes all of the children in the classroom so they can't move as the monster walks around and looks at them, and is absolutely horrifying. And it describes how something from another dimension might look to us and how weird it is. And that is absolutely bone-chilling and was crazy to read. Now, this is a weird one to put on the list. This is The Wind in the Willows. So this is a classic, famous children's book. If you haven't read it, you probably have seen the Disney version or seen different cartoons of it. It's a great children's book. It's you don't think of it for mind-blowing. You think of it as, oh, relaxing and lolling about on a river. But there's two parts of it that are really interesting. One is they sort of accidentally meet a god at one point. And, it's just the adventures of these little animals. And yet, all of a sudden, in this one chapter, there's a sublime thing where they meet a mythological god. Very weird. But what I found mind-blowing was in one section, they're in Badger's house. And Badger lives in an underground house in the Wildwood. And it's this beautiful home, kind of like a hobbit hole. And it alludes to there being a civilization that was there before and has left ruins. Now, this is in England. It's probably referring to Roman ruins. But in my mind, it started going to the place of like, whoa, what if these are human ruins and this is a post-apocalyptic world in which only the animals have survived? And that sort of blew my mind as a different way of thinking about The Wind in the Willows, turning it really much darker and more interesting. Later on in the book, there are humans, so it kind of ruins the magic around that concept. But just to think about it is really, really cool. Next, we have a book, number 7, Carl Sagan's Contact. There, you can see it. Carl Sagan is an incredible astronomer, scientist, and wrote a book that, here, I have it here, The Demon Haunted World, which is a nonfiction book which set me on a whole path of exploring critical thinking and really changed my life in a lot of ways. So I recommend this book, Demon Haunted World. But Contact was the only piece of fiction he wrote. They turned this into a very popular movie with Jodie Foster. And it's about aliens that contact the Earth, but they do it in a very subtle way in which humans figure out the ability to create this special machine. And they think the machine will be a way to contact the aliens. And it just has a very cool payoff at the end with really opening the whole universe and seeing how these aliens communicate with us and finding out different things about humanity and about our future and a potential future that's very, very cool. Next, we have a classic. If you thought Wind in the Willows was a classic, this is a classic. Frankenstein. Frankenstein's a really cool book. I don't know if anyone's actually read it. I certainly didn't read it growing up. It's difficult to read, being written in like 1810 or something. But I read it a couple years ago, and I was really glad that I did. It's really, really well done. So there are 3 parts to it. In the beginning part, everyone knows the story. I'm not going to tell you what the story is. In the beginning part, it's told from the point of view of Dr. Frankenstein. And in the middle part, it's told from the point of view of the creature. And in the end part, it goes back to being told by Dr. Frankenstein. So the book ends, the 2 parts told by Dr. Frankenstein are hard to get through. It's this thick romantic language. It's dense to read. But I found the middle portion, which is completely from the point of view of the creature, to be fascinating. Just this look at what it would be like if you were born and wrote down what you were experiencing and learning as a baby or as a child, if you were capable of both being created at the same time you were able to understand things, and how you would half understand things and learn about them. And the creature coming to this awakening of his senses and learning everything about the world and learning his humanity or lack of humanity and how to behave and how he's treated, how other people treat him, and just realizing all these things and changing his personality as time goes on. So that third of the book, really you have to read the whole thing, but I wish you could just read the middle part, because that part from the point of view of the creature is really incredible. Next on the list, so, Frankenstein is 200 years old. This is 2 months old. This is a comic book series called, it's a little shiny, The Nice House on the Lake. So this is only 6 issues in, I think, and it's not even collected as a paperback yet, but it is incredible, and it's one of the inspirations for this video. It's about 10 or so people that go on a vacation for a weekend at this nice house on the lake. and they're all invited there by their one friend, Walter. And it turns out that Walter has bigger plans. And I'm not going to spoil anything. The end of the first issue is when you find out the big secret, so you don't have to wait very long. It's all right in the first issue. But it was one of the most impressive first issues of a new comic I've read in years, and it completely blew my mind. You don't know what's going on, and then bam, this huge thing on the very last pages of the first issue. And that was just incredible. So that's highly recommended. The Nice House on the Lake. This is Space Boy. That is a picture of a girl, but the book is called Space Boy. What's cool, and why I brought the whole stack here, is that on the edge it shows the characters, which is really cool. This book is excellent. It's just one of my absolute favorites of recent years. I've gotten my wife to read it. I've gotten some friends to read it. I've loaned it to them. I need to get them back. It's just a lot of fun. It's a graphic novel. It was serialized on the web first. It's about a girl who grows up on a mining colony on a faraway asteroid, comes to Earth, has lost years of her life in the travel, and has to learn all new things about Earth. It's just a near future. There's not that many different things, but there's a weird boy in her class who's very strange. She doesn't know what's up with him. He acts really weird. He sort of acts like a robot. He kind of acts like an alien. You don't know what's going on, and you have to read a lot of issues to get to the point. But the whole journey is incredible. It's just this profound, poignant book with these wonderful characters, this great plot, all these things going on. And when you finally get to figure out what the secret is, it is completely worth it. It has such a good payoff. And the series is still going on, and there's been multiple payoffs and multiple secrets unveiled and more to come. And it's just something I look forward to more than anything else. They put the books out every 4 months. It's just been an excellent, excellent series. Okay, counting down to the top 3. This one is House of Leaves. This book is a novel. It's text. It's not a graphic novel, but it is weird text. Let me try to flip through this here so you can see. See these pages? They only have a couple words on them. It's very strange. These are in weird columns. These have underlines, different fonts, bold. Sometimes the text goes in different directions. It's kind of like poems. It's really bizarre and strange. It's about a haunted house. And the house isn't really haunted. There's no ghost. There's no murder that happened or anything like that. It's just a house that's weird. And there's different fonts because it's told from the perspective of different people arching over the other people. So it's about a filmographer who moves into a house with his family, but it's told from the perspective of someone who found his notes, and then told from the perspective of someone else who found those. And you have to sort of uncover what's going on. The house is just a little weird. It, for example, is bigger on the inside than on the outside if you measure it just by a little bit, and no one can figure out why. And then a door appears, and the door goes into a basement, and it's sort of like a maze, and they mount expeditions to go explore it. And as you get deeper and deeper into the house and into the story, that's when the text starts getting really strange and bizarre, and it's sort of like you're losing your mind at the same time that the characters are losing their minds. And then it has it's excellently done. And then it has an additional little payoff, sort of an addendum at the end that is also horrifying, talking about sort of I won't spoil it at all. You should read it. It's House of Leaves. That was number 3. Number 2, this is Astray in the Woods. This is an independent graphic novel, and it was originally a webcomic, and the author posted a page a day or every few days and asked her readers what they wanted to do next. So it's sort of written in second person, like a choose your own adventure. And then each day she picked one of the things that the reader suggested and made the character go in that direction. So the premise is the character is a cat. You don't know what's going on. you don't know why, and the cat explores things, finds cat food, looks for other cats. It's things a cat would do because you're a cat in the story. What's incredible is that by choosing every day something suggested by the readers, the story can go in these really creative directions. But then what's mind-blowing about it, besides being this horror tone that is very, very cool, is that the story ends up paying off. It all wraps up. It's all really well done. It looks completely planned out, but was both planned out and serendipitous at the same time, which is just remarkable and incredible that she was able to pull this off. So that's a favorite of mine. I have a couple copies I've lent to people, but it is hard to find, so good luck. And then number 1, most mind-blowing book, is The Neverending Story. So you've probably heard of this one if you're of a certain generation. You've watched the movie that came out in the 80s. Excellent movie. The movie is pretty much an adaptation of the first half of the book. What's cool about the book is that it's written in 2-color fonts. Let's see if I can find a page. When you see the magenta font, you are in the real world. And when you see the green font, you are the character reading about this fantasy world. And the mind-blowing part, and this is a spoiler, but a lot of you have seen the movie already. I don't feel bad about this. The mind-blowing part is you're a boy reading a book, and the boy in the book is reading about the story, and it gets to the exact middle of the book, and the boy becomes aware, the fantasy world becomes aware of the boy, and the boy becomes aware of you as the reader. And it's written in such a way that this is completely chilling and mind-blowing. And it speaks to just this eerie sensation of how do we even relate to books? Are we involved? Are we creating the stories as we read them? Are we active participants in how the tales are told? And in this book, you really are. You're in it, and it pulls you in. And it's really compelling and really well done. So that's it for the most mind-blowing stories, counting down the top 10. Appreciate you watching. Please like and subscribe. You'll get more. And I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.